So Catherine, why is everything more difficult?
What did you say?
Why is everything more difficult?
Because it's more complex. It's more, and when it's more complex,
It's more
at
difficult.
first it seems really like, wow. But I know that it's more complex, but it's also deeper. So I'm
Yeah.
definitely happy about it. But I just have to integrate it. And I mean, it's going to take time, but all is good.
It's like
Good.
it's like an onion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
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 peel
just you just keep peeling. The only difference is an onion. You actually finally get to the center of it. This I don't know. You just keep peeling. It just keeps peeling and peeling and peeling.
but
I
one of
was
the
I what's that?
well, one of the reasons I like Tai Chi is that you never stop learning. I can't, I'm not getting bored. I'm not getting bored with it.
Yeah, no, you don't get bored because as soon as you get bored, then somebody says something and you realize you've been doing it wrong
Wrong.
for the past 20 years. Um, a couple of thoughts. One is the biggest problem with doing this by video is we don't have any push hands. When you have push hands, that's when you really begin to understand something. It's kind of like, suppose I was trying to teach you ballroom dancing by video. Could you do it? Well, yeah, kind of, but it's not quite the same as, being able to hold someone and actually dance, right? What can you do? But here's the thing, because I was just talking with an old student about this. It's better than nothing. It's better than nothing, right? So we just, you go with the flow, you do what you can. The second thing I was thinking about is I was actually thinking about the Peng Lu Qigong this morning when I woke up in bed and I was waking up. And we can go over that really, really quickly. It's easier than it might seem on the surface because it almost always, not always, but almost always follows the same pattern. So the one piece that we worked on the other day, hung Lu on Chi, right? Hung Lu on Chi. So it usually follows that same pattern, Hung Lu on Chi. And then you have to understand what each of those energies are. And a simplified version of explaining it is Pung is expanding from the center. If I'm doing Pung here, it doesn't mean I'm just expanding in this direction. I'm also expanding in that direction, and that direction, and that direction. You're expanding 360 degrees in all directions. Right? Pung. Lu is generally turning on your own axis. Right? So I'm spinning on my axis. This is Lu. Right? Pong, Lu. What's really happening is I'm shifting my weight and turning. Pong, Lu. On is translated as pressing down. And that's a good enough equivalent for the moment, but it's not pressing down like this. It's pressing down like this. All right? Everything, shoulders, hips, knees, everything is sinking. So it's very different than just pressing like this, which really just depends on the shoulders. All right? It's more like this. And then G, G is a little tricky. This is G energy. All right? This is G energy. But Qi energy is actually compression. It looks like you're expanding, but in order to expand, you contract inside. So the metaphor I use is go into your bathroom and get a tube of toothpaste. Take the cap off, point it at the mirror, and squeeze it as hard as you can. All right? You're going to have a bunch of toothpaste shoot out. All right, it's shooting out, yeah, but what's actually happening is compression. And it's the same thing with this. Expand, turn, press down, and contract. Expand, turn, press down, contract. Now, the language that they usually use when they translate it into English, I think is very difficult to understand. But they usually translate this into is ward off. What do they do for
Roll back.
Oh, ward off, roll back, press, and push. All right. Okay. Well, yeah, there's some similarities there, but all those are what it looks like from the outside. What you have to understand is what's happening on the inside. All right. So this is ward off. But what they mean by ward off is you're warding things off. Well, all right, you're warding things off, but how do you do that? You do it by expanding from the center. Well, from your Dan Shen, you ward off, ward off, ward off, ward off, right? When Master Zhang wanted to see where you were at or how far you had progressed during the year, he would do this, right? Which meant he wanted you to do that, right? So that's Peng. And then he would put his hands on your forearm and feel your chi. And every time he did that for me, he would go, maybe 5 more years. I heard that every 5 years for 25 years. Right? What he was doing was listening to how you were creating that ward off. If you're creating it from your shoulder muscles, stiffening your shoulder muscles, that's not what it is. And you can feel that when someone's doing that. You can feel it because it feels stiff. All right? And if you're creating that from your shoulders, somebody pushed you on that, you're threatening your shoulder. You might really hurt your shoulder. All right? So you don't create it by your shoulder muscles. You create it by expansion, which makes it much softer. Now you think because it's soft, it can't be strong, but that's not true. You just have to learn how to do it, right? You expand. What happens when you expand like that is you become like this. All right? You become very like a rubber ball. And someone pushes on you, it's hard to make it do anything. Yeah, it's true. You can push into the rubber ball, but it'll immediately push back. And that's exactly what you get when you do Peng correctly. Is now you're like a rubber ball. This is the edge of the ball here. All right? You're like a rubber ball. If they push in, will you change your shape a little bit? But you'll immediately bounce back. The other way to do it is to just be really, really stiff. Nobody's gonna move me, you know. But the thing is things that are stiff are brittle and they break. Things that are soft, yeah, they don't have that brittle strength, but they've got a kind of soft, flexible strength. And that's really what you're looking for in Tai Chi. So Peng is that kind of feeling. And he could tell just by touching you. This is a push hands skill. He just touch you for a second. He knows which of those you're using. Are you using physical body stiffness, or are you using energy body flexibility? And if you're still using physical body stiffness, his reply to you would be, oh, well, maybe 5 more years. Now, he could have just told you what you were doing wrong, but he wouldn't. He never, and all the time I was with him, he never explained it. Why not? He didn't explain it like I'm explaining it to you. Because I know you guys are not going to do this for 25 more years. So I'm going to give you the secret right now. The reason he didn't say anything is he wants you to go find it yourself. He would say, if your question is, what is Peng? He would say, oh, that's a very good question. Go home, practice, search. Search, figure this out for yourself. If I tell you it's not yours anymore, it's just me unscrewing the top of your head and pouring this fake knowledge in and then screwing it back on. I'll give you an example of this. It has nothing to do with Tai Chi. You guys have probably always heard for years that Trump is a malignant narcissist. Well, if you're like me, you probably think you know what that means. I just sort of, kind of knew what it meant, right? Forget the malignant part, just talk about narcissism. What is narcissism? Well, it's sort of all about you, right? And I kind of understood that. But I got to tell you, it was a very intellectual kind of understanding, which is kind of a little ungrounded. The other day, on a group chat, email chat thing, we had a guy who responded. The group decided that they were going to do an annual appreciation day for Master John, and it's a whole day where they come in and they do a whole series of classes, like so from like 9 in the morning until 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and half a dozen people give different classes. So this guy is on the mailing list and probably goes, the mailing list probably goes out to 60 or 80 people, something like that, 100 people. And he gets, he got upset that he had not been asked to teach a class. And basically what he said was, I'm taking my bat and my ball and going home. And he said it in such a way that Annie thought he was drinking, and he probably was. But you realize it's like, from this guy's point of view, it's all about him. It's not about the group. It's not about Master Zhang. It's not about the group honoring their old teacher. It's all about him. And it was like, it was so sort of shocking to see this kind of email. It wasn't a long page, but it was a good sized paragraph. And it was like, the first sentence started out really nice, and then it kind of, every sentence after that, it just devolved down to, where his sign off was, well, I'm gone, and signs it and away he goes, right? And it's like, bro, you're living a drama in your head that has nothing to do with anybody else in this group. And that's the way Trump is too. It's all about Trump. And you realize, my God, how would you even talk to someone like that? How could you get through to someone like that? It would be a really difficult process. You'd have to be a therapist and actually be their therapist. And even then, frankly, I'm not sure you can ever really cure narcissism. At least when it's that deep and that old. All right. So why did I start talking about this other than it annoys the hell out of me? All right. Peng, Lu, An, Qi, Yang, Yin, Yin, Yang.
Repeat
Any
that.
of those
You said yang, yin, yin, yang.
Yang, Yin, Yin, Yang, right? Any of those energies, any of those four energies could be either yin or yang. In this case, that's what they are. But it's not like Peng is always yang. Yang is energy that goes out for the purpose of accomplishing something, right? Yin is energy that comes in. I can use Peng energy defensively. Meaning, well, on the one hand, yes, I'm putting a shield of energy out there to ward off. But so that initial thing is yang, but as soon as someone comes into contact with it, now I can use that same energy to do silk reeling, for instance. So I can use it defensively, and that's really a yin thing. Does that make sense? They're the four energies are the four energies. The yin and yang are something different. So you're saying it's this energy and then it's one or the other of these two, right? Or it's this energy and it's one or the other of these two. Does that make sense, Catherine?
So what you're saying is that in each of the four energies, you can have yin and yang.
Yes.
Wow,
So
that's even more complicated than I thought. Okay.
in a way, yeah, it's more complicated, but in another way, and again, if we were together in push hands, this would be really easy. Suppose someone comes in and they put their hand on my body, right? What could I do to deal with this? Well, a lot of things. But one thing you could do is just use on energy, pressing down energy, right? Boom, right, like that.
And so that would be a yang energy.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly, right? Yeah, but pressing down, there it's yin. It's winding up, and now I'm going to hit. This one, it's using as a hit. So this one, it's yang. This one, it's yin. So it can be either one. It just depends on what you want to use it for. And the same is true all the way around.
But when you do the form, what you want to express, what you want to show, it's the yin and yang energies. It's the
Yes.
okay. But at the same time, when you do when you express those two energies, you also have to include the four other energies each time.
Yes. And those four energies are only 4 of 13.
Yeah, I know, but let's deal with the four already. Okay, it's just that for me, it's
Yeah.
another layer that I didn't even like got until today. So
Yes.
I'm definitely like,
This is
wow.
this is why learning real Tai Chi takes a lot of time. You cannot learn it in a week or even a month. It's going to take years. Really, to get the basis of it takes about 5 years of decent practice and focus on it. And then it takes another 5 years to work through and make it your own. To really get good at the first form takes a minimum of 10 years.
I'm not
Now,
surprised.
maybe if you arranged your life so that you did nothing but Tai Chi from 8 in the morning until 8 at night, and you worked and lived with a Chinese master, right? It would be shorter than that, but none of us can, right? We all do this, and a really dedicated student does an hour a day. A super dedicated student does 2 hours a day. So a combination of classes and private practice. Well, you think, gee, an hour or two a day, that's a lot. You're right, that's a lot. That's a lot of time. If you add that up, if you're doing an hour a day, that's almost 400 hours a year.
Yeah.
If you're doing 200, you're talking about 800 to 1,000 hours a year. That's a half-time job, right? But that's what it takes. It's like if you want to play the guitar like Stevie Ray Vaughan, you can't do an hour a week and expect to be Stevie Ray Vaughan. You're going to have to practice 3 or 4 hours a day. Yeah, Kevin.
Lee and I are watching a documentary on the Allman Brothers, and Dwayne Allman carried his guitar with him all the time. He was sitting down playing guitar,
Yeah.
practicing in conversations, walking around, playing his guitar as long as he was awake.
Yeah. That's that's what the Tai Chi masters like Master Zhang and Master Feng used to do too. They were practicing all the time. So Zhang told a story on himself when he was learning Chen style Tai Chi and he was into it, 4 or 5 years. Um, he used to go to bed at night, go to sleep at night, and he would practice laying on his back in bed. And Mrs. Young would turn over and just whack him and go, Jean, stop! Stop practicing. I'm trying to sleep. Right? And he go, well, what do you mean he was practicing? Well, he was practicing. He was practicing probably the Qigong part of it. Right? Just minor, something like this. See, nobody thinks a little thing like that can really teach you very much. But what it's doing is coordinating your upper and lower body, your left and right body, your front and back body, and all your movement from the center. It's not something about, oh, I'm going to get it and then I'll be able to do it. So I just have to get it and then it's done. No, that's not how it works. It's like learning to play the guitar. You're changing yourself inside, and then you have to keep that up.
They used to call it steal your practice.
Yeah, it's stealing. It's called stealing practice. stealing, like you're robbing something. Um, I don't remember the particulars of this story, but but some story that Master Zhang used to tell about going somewhere in Beijing with Master Feng on the bus, and there was a long line of queue of people, and so they're all sort of jostling to, the Chinese can be rather rude, right? They're kind of like New Yorkers. Uh, they're pushing and shoving a little bit, and Zhang was back in line. Feng was ahead of him, and he said, all of a sudden I started seeing people fly up into the air because they had pushed on Master Feng. And he said, what's funny is Feng was not really moving. They would push into him, and he would just move, and they would. I think there's a tremendous amount of truth about just stealing practice. When you watch masters at a tournament, you might very well see them doing this, just standing on the side doing this for an hour. Just just keep the chi moving. It's like the car is an idle, right? But the engine's still running. All right, let's go back to the first move. I'm going to turn a little to the side. Peng, Lu, on, Peng, Lu, on, Qi, Peng, on, Peng, Lu, on. So you don't always have to have all four of the energies. If you're going to do a complete circle, you're going to have all four of the energies. But if you just are going Peng, Lu, on, right? Now there's no G in there. There's no outward going energy. Peng, Lu, on. All right. How I said Lu is about using the turning axis of the body. So you're shifting your weight and you're turning the body. All right. Where's the body turn here?
Well, it's not turning because we are doing the both sides at the same time.
Yes, exactly.
But
Exactly.
internally, I should feel
Yes.
it.
Yes.
I
That's
should.
exactly right. And guys, this is the difference between the physical body and the energy body. The energy body can do things that the physical body can't. So if I'm just going to look at the physical body, right? Yeah, that's Lu. That's Lu, right? But suppose I do both at the same time. Now, you don't see my body turn physically, but energetically, you have you have one wave moving this way. You have another wave moving this way. And now you have two waves, but they cancel each out in the physical body. But in the energy body, they're still going on. It's not imaginary. They really truly are going on. I'll have to dig up a picture that I got of Master Zhang doing that. I'm pushing into him. All right. So imagine. All right. Here are my two hands. I'm coming in on Master Zhang on his chest like this. He comes up directly underneath my hands are here. He comes directly up underneath, and then watch my chest. That motion is called Feng Kai. To split and open. And you probably wouldn't just do that. You would probably come up, here's the hands on here, I'm starting to push him backwards, right? So he would come up underneath and lift my hands just slightly, like half an inch. Right? So my hands are, he just lifts it just a little bit. He lifts more my energy body than my physical body. Right? And then, as part of the split, he might split this side like this and this side like that. So what he's going to do is, when I'm pushing on him like this, my right side is pushing and my left side is pushing. Now I'm like a wall coming in on him like this. He doesn't like that, right? What he's going to force me to do is pick one side or the other. If he comes up under here and draws this back, it's going to cause me to go more on this side. And then if this side comes up and presses like this, and you see what's going to happen. He's stretching me out. He's forcing me to move to my own left. All right. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's potentially what you're doing in the very first movement of the form. You could. Now, you don't actually do it, but you could do it.
But you think about it.
If it's in your mind, this is a hard thing I think you guys are far enough along that you can grasp this, but I'm going to go back and search for a metaphor. You know, there is a body healing technique called the Alexander technique.
Yeah,
Have you
I know
heard
it.
of it?
Oh, yes, I did it for years.
Okay. I don't know what language they use when you were working with them, Catherine, but one of the bits of language I learned doing it was called the directions.
Mm-hmm.
So the directions might be, just I'll pick an example, is imagine your upper back. And imagine that there's energy going from your spine out to your shoulders. Your physical body is not going to move or change at all, but that energy is going to relax your upper back and move to the outside. That's the perfect difference between the energy body and the physical body. And of course, they should work together, but they also have their own independent existence. So when you do Tai Chi, you're sort of doing Alexander technique more than you are anything else, right? Pung. Imagine the energy swelling. Now, it's more than just imagination, but you got to start somewhere. Imagine everything is expanding from your own center here, now all 360 degrees around your body. All right? Peng, LUU, on, Qi. If you watch someone who's good at this, so Catherine's getting good at the first move. What makes your audience feel like you're good at it is they're seeing your, and they may not even understand this or even be conscious of it, but what makes it magical is they see your energy body moving more than your physical body. So it's not this. All right? It's much subtler. Good. So there's the very first move. Peng, LUU, on, Qi. Peng, maybe just a little LUU in there, and then a lot of on. And Peng, LUU, on. Peng, LUU, on, Qi. Lots of people do this move without doing all four energies. And that's okay. It's honestly, it really is okay. Peng, on. Peng, on. Or Peng, LUU, on, Qi. Either one is okay. You just have to be clear about which one you're doing. Like I said last time, if you were working, both Master Feng and Master Zhang had two ways of working with you. One way was them being a teacher. So if they were being a teacher, they would do it like this. Peng, LUU, on, Qi. But if they were not being a teacher, if they were just doing their own version of this, it would look like this. Oh, it's much subtler. It's all there. Peng, LUU, on, Qi. And if they were really just doing it for themselves, all right, and let's say they were going to do a little Fa Jian.
So,
Peng, LUU, on, Qi.
so what you're saying is that even if it doesn't show
Yes,
when
it's
you
still
when
there.
you do it, it's but you think about it.
Yes, it's just like the directions in
Yeah.
Alexander technique.
Okay.
You may not see it physically, but it's still happening energetically. Now, if you develop if you become very experienced at this and you develop a good eye, you'll still see it physically. It's just, it may be so small. All right? You probably didn't see it in there. Peng, LUU, on, Qi.
If you watch your Dantian, you can see it.
Yeah. Now, I was still leaving a little out there. If you were really dealing, how can I say this? Let's say you were doing push hands with Master Zhang or Master Peng. You put your hands on them. You don't even feel them move, and this energy just can throw you back. Well, did they move? Yes. Just not physically.
Yeah.
Or they were moving energetically. Right? And it's like, whoa, how'd you do that? Again, I'm sort of exaggerating so you can see it. But that comes from decades of experience and push hands. But the Alexander technique metaphor is very, 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 very similar to what I swear, you know, Alexander, his story is really interesting. Um, he spent 10 years developing these techniques, and I swear he was working with some Chinese guy because Alexander technique and Tai Chi match very, very, very closely all the way through. It's very interesting. Yeah, Kevin.
So one thing now I got the weight change watching you today, so that was one of the things that was bothering me about it. Now I was right. It's just really needs some polishing. So now that's where the silk reeling comes in. I've got to work on those, the abdomen, the quad, this one, this one, this one,
All right.
this one, and that polish some of that out, and then that'll be a little bit smoother. And but now I got something to work on.
Well, you know, the smoothness in this comes the same way the smoothness in any craft comes in. I don't care what your craft is. You know, woodworking or ceramics or painting or Tai Chi, it just comes through practice. And just, all right. Peng Lu on Ji, Peng Lu on Ji, Peng Lu on now. Peng Lu. All right? Peng. Lu, Peng. The two sides of your body can be doing completely different energies. Yes, Catherine, good. Yeah.
You have to be so focused that it's exhausting. I mean, every second you have to think about what you're doing.
Yes. Now, this is a very good point to end on. You're right that it's exhausting because of where you are in your learning curve.
Yeah.
You're at the beginning and you've got to pay attention to everything, and that will wear you out. But it doesn't stay that way.
Mm-hmm.
After a while, you don't have to watch so intensely. You learn to just relax. You just relax and you can feel all these things happening. But that takes a little experience to get there. It's the same with any craft. I'm sure it's the same with making books. At first, you have to focus on everything, and of course, you want to do it perfectly, right? And you never do the first half dozen or dozen times. The first couple of years you're practicing as you're learning. But after a while, you learn to relax, and you can do a good job out of relaxation. This is the same in Tai Chi, guys. There's nothing magical about it. Okay, any final questions?
No, but it was great.
Good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Ciao.
Ciao.